Guest, Shri Vivek Tankha, Senior Advocate and Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha, also joins us this evening to have a riveting conversation with Tarun Nangia, Editor of Legally Speaking, on Constitution and Politics.
It's a pleasure to have Mr. Tankha on this event today, and of course there are a lot of non-lawyers here, so I must also give an introduction. So has served as the Advocate General of Madhya Pradesh long ago, then served as the Additional Solicitor General of India, very famously more than a decade ago. Now he is the second time sitting Member of Parliament from the Congress Party, and a very vocal voice in the party forum and in Parliament. So unlike other lawyers, you wear dual hats. You are in court, you are in Parliament, so you make law and you also argue for clients. That's why you will give a different perspective to things. Could you just, in a sense, give a comment on that role of yours as a lawyer and yours as a lawmaker?
Tarun, first of all, thanks for inviting me, Karthik. Let me tell you that it's a confession. I never thought I would be entering such active politics to begin with. I had many offers in the 90s and the early 2000s, and those were good offers. But I would always tell people putting me these offers that I want to first do well in my profession, which is my real calling. So I was happy to be the State Advocate General, and that was the time, if you remember, Madhya Pradesh got divided, we reorganized. You can say I was one of the authors of the Reorganization Act, and also one of the persons who was solving the problems arising out of reorganization. So there was a wealth of experience. Then as Additional Solicitor General, it was a different ballgame in Delhi, and finally now as a Member of Parliament. I have enjoyed each part independently, but I also feel one adds to the other. So for me, this is what I was doing earlier. Parliamentary activity is only an extension of that.
See, one thing that you would appreciate, that the kind of legislation that Parliament makes is clogging our courts with unnecessary cases. I'll point out two instances. The prohibition law on liquor in Bihar. Now the courts are clogged with these matters, so they don't get time to adjudicate on matters which, concern people, and, disposals are necessary. Also, there are many other laws which, for example, the laws on twin conditions for bail, that have also, led to a lot of litigation. Do you think the parliaments fall short on, maybe discussing better so that, we could have laws that would not clog the courts with litigation?
We have very eminent parliamentarians sitting here in the front row also, and eminent law officers also, past law officers. But let me tell you, do we really matter? There's a debate, but there's a preconceived law which is put up in the parliament. You put in your best arguments. I don't think they're interested in changing it. The debate is like a farce which takes place because it is necessary. Because you have a parliament, it has to pass a law, there has to be a 2-hour discussion where you have ration time to speak. Some people get an opportunity, some don't get an opportunity. People like Kapil Sibal don't participate because they don't get time. They said as an independent we get only 3 minutes. How do I contribute in 3 minutes? Karthike? Yeah, once in a way they get 5 minutes. So it's a very slipshod situation. I feel there should be more seriousness in this whole apparatus, this whole approach. Parliament should actually be a serious lawmaking body. If I was now in a constituent assembly, and if we were remaking our Indian constitution, I would have separated the executive from the legislature. The fact that you have ministers responsible to the parliament, the ball game changes. Make parliament only for lawmaking, like you have in America. More of a presidential system.
Many times parliamentarians, much like you, when they talk to us privately, they say, Tarun, much work gets done in parliamentary committees. There is a free and frank discussion that leads to the evolution of good laws. But going by the past many years, it doesn't seem that that is happening. What needs to improve?
No, parliamentary committees is a good step forward. In fact, if we have contributed in lawmaking, it's more through the committees. I have been a part of many JPCs. I have been I'm still a member of that Law, Justice and DOPT Standing Committee. So we do make and contribute in lawmaking, because there, at least, when you discuss laws, you're not talking as a party man. You're contributing as a member. In a standing committee, it's not so much of party. It's more as a lawmaker. But when we're debating in parliament, we are debating as a party man. There's a difference. Kartikeya would know, Manish would know. If I'm wrong, they would say that. But that is the difference I've seen.
One thing that I would want to know from you, that about the central hall. A lot of MPs are talking about the new parliament not having a central hall. How did it enrich conversation? Does it really matter if the central hall is not there in new parliament?
I completely endorse what majority of parliamentarians say, and I am part of that there should have been a central hall. You can't have effective parliament and a communication system without a central hall. Today when I finish, if I'm not sitting in the house, I have to go and go to the cafeteria or go home. Earlier times, if I would get up for a while, I would walk into the central hall. Parliamentarians from Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, they all would sit there. We would chit chat. Today I don't know who's in the Lok Sabha. And the Lok Sabha people don't know who's in the Rajya Sabha. Even ex-parliamentarians, ex-ministers would come into the central hall. Even journalists, accredited journalists used to be there. So I don't know why this new system was evoked. And frankly speaking, in my opinion, there should have been a better consultative process about doing away with a central hall when the parliament was new parliament was being established. I am sure it should not be left to whims and fancies of a few individuals to decide whether we should have a central hall or we should not have a central hall. It's the country which should decide, not the whims and fancies of few people.
I also want to know from you that in your experience, that now this is the second term that you're part of parliament. If you can give 3 suggestions that you would want things to change, 3 quick suggestions, and then we can move on to the next set of questions.
Number 1, I hate parliament proceedings being disrupted. If we are in parliament must work. I checked with my friends in US and UK, my parliamentary friends in these 2 places. They said there's no question of parliament being disrupted. There could be a noise or a shore for 5-10 minutes, and then again the parliament starts. How can you not have parliament for the whole day? It doesn't matter which party is in power. BJP was doing it earlier, we and others are doing it now, and maybe for valid reasons. But this whole concept of parliament not working, and maybe this is also because of the kind of engagement today the ruling party has with the opposition. You don't want to engage yourself with the opposition in the parliamentary agenda. I gave a suggestion in writing to the chairman. I said, look at the British tradition. You know, in UK, 1 day is given to the opposition. 1 day is given to the opposition. You lay down the day's agenda. So if as a Congress, I have 1 day at my disposal, I'll put my issues on that 1 day. There will be no disruption in other 5 days, or 4 days.
One last answer on the use of question hour. Do you think it's being effectively used? The question hour.
No, not at all. I'll tell you, I'm most dissatisfied. You get a very vague answer, and when you get that vague answer, you put a couple of supplementaries. Half the time, people who are answering you are ill-informed or less informed. And then, if you want to ask more, you'll be told that you can use other provisions of the rules to take it forward.
Thank
I mean, I feel it's not as effective as it should be.
This was a short but a really engaging conversation with you on Parliament. Some interesting points you made, and
Thank you.
we would now like to invite one more panelist to join you to continue.